Hey y'all, welcome back to Club JG presents The Ugly Truth. We haven't done The Ugly Truth in so long, like I feel like. So it's good to have it back. I got my friend Natalie here. How you doing today, sweetie? How are you?
Hello, I am doing well. How are you?
I'm doing great. It's really good to have you back. It's been a minute since we had you on the show. It's good to have you back always. Hilary Duff recently came out and had some crazy comments that like just made the internet go viral. Of course, it only took 30 seconds, but she
Hmm.
made a comment, regarding her husband saying like, hey, well, he was at first in the beginning like he was too nice, and when let's be honest, when a lot of guys hear the words too nice, their antennas kind of shoot up. I'm like, hold up a second, wherever heard that before. Like it feels like it's been a recurring theme where it's like, oh, here we go again. Nice guys finish last, bad guys have a blast. But real quick, let's hear what Hilary Duff had to say, and I want to know your thoughts about it, and I will react. Take a listen, guys.
That's not really a thing.
So you thought it was like almost a red flag that he was too nice.
I think I was just like not ready to accept all of that yet. I was like coming out of that like a long relationship, a divorce. Like I was just like chaotic.
Yeah. It's
I think
almost
I
like,
needed some chaos first.
yes, meeting a nice guy that's actually going to treat
Yeah.
you well. You're like, wait, can you pause for 2 seconds? I'm back.
Yeah, totally.
Okay, wait.
All right, so Nat, I'm gonna give you the floor here. Like, what the hell is she talking about here? What's going on here? What are we missing here with that we're not seeing? From Hilary Duff. What is she talking about here? The floor is yours. Help me out.
I am gonna maybe have a more controversial opinion. um, I think that automatically we're assuming that chaotic means toxic. Would you say that's kind of like the first thing that came to your head when you heard that word?
Yeah, I feel like that's like basically a synonym for toxic. Like I want chaos. That sounds like toxic. You know?
Yeah, I guess like when I think about the word chaotic, I feel like there's like chaotic good, chaotic bad type of situation. Again, that's probably a very controversial opinion. Um, I think that somebody being too nice equates to a little bit more like stability, just not really highs and lows. It's just like you know what to expect pretty much every single day. You're going to get the same person each time. And there's not really much spontaneity or like passion behind that. Sorry, unpopular opinion. I'm saying that. And I think that coming from something where she might have been going up and down with a divorce and like a fairly toxic esque relationship, it's hard to just jump right into something that is considered too nice or stable. So I think chaotic in my head is coming off as like the opposite of that. It's just like unpredictable. You don't really know what's going on. And then she's kind of like, I don't want to just jump right into the complete opposite of what I was just in. Maybe like a transitioner type situation. But
So a buffer, like a fluffer to like, hey, let me kind of you have this guy for a little bit and then break up with him and then let me get to the all predictable, stable relationships. Is that kind of what I'm hearing here?
I feel like she, I interpret it as like a maybe I need to get this out of my system first.
Hmm.
Not
Okay.
saying that's the best thing.
Okay.
Not saying that's the best thing. That's how I took it. Like that she'd be going from highs and lows and highs and lows and intense emotionally all the time, and then just jumping into something completely opposite is gonna probably feel like pretty uncomfortable, especially right off the bat, unless you take that time to like condition yourself and heal and do all that work internally and stuff, which maybe she hadn't done yet.
See, that's the thing. It's just like when I whenever when I hear this comment, and I've listened to this video a few times. Like I'm trying to like have like a big picture idea, not just zoom in on one thing. 'Cause I mean, when I hear that, like I understand that she's going through like divorce and everything. That can I've never been married during the divorce thing like that. But I feel like it's like a bad breakup. When you go through a bad breakup, there's some trauma there. There's some things that you go through where it's like you look at people differently.
Hmm.
But at the same time, it's like for the longest time we've heard like don't be the guy that is coming to her door with flowers. Don't be the guy that goes the extra mile to like show how much you like her and stuff like that. Girls don't seem to like that. They like the guy that basically ignores them and does all the opposite things that they don't like, and then it attracts them. Like it's a lot of reverse psychology that goes on here, and it's like okay, and then there's that one nice guy that that the girl meets, and it's like
Hmm.
he gets ignored. He does all the things that she has a checklist. He checks off all the boxes. He does all the things that he wants, but he still ends up getting the short end of the stick. And then she goes off to the idiot that she knows is messed up. She knows it's going to be a problem. She knows the guy, he's no good for her, but yeah, he
Mm-hmm.
still ends up winning. So it's
Mm-hmm.
like when I hear the word chaotic, just me being a good person that I am and have been over the years, my first thought is, oh yeah, she don't want a good guy right now. Is it boring? Like, because I never underestimate a woman's intelligence ever. I never do that. But my thing is, do y'all feel like it's just too like not having that chaos off the bat? Do y'all think it's like it can get really boring really fast, where it's like you need a little chaos just to kind of present a challenge, to have a little bit of spontaneity, like you said, like just more fun? Like that's the part where I'm kind of like disconnected when I hear that.
I personally think that sometimes people equate that chaos to passion, and they're equating that passion to like you actually caring. And sometimes when it's a little bit more like nonchalant, it's just like consistent good mornings, like just it sometimes does not register that that could also be considered passion, just not in like a very loud and expressive up and down type of way. So I think that if someone's used to a specific dynamic, their nervous system kind of is wired to think that that is passion and that's what's a normal healthy relationship. And to go completely opposite, it's kind of like, oh, okay, maybe your nervous system isn't like fully registering that this can also be a healthy dynamic. Does that make sense? Like it takes time, I feel like, to I know. I was like, I feel like it just takes time. I've been in both dynamics before. So coming
It's
from
so
my experience, it takes time. Like you can't just jump in head first and be like, I'm gonna act correctly in this relationship when you've never been in a relationship like that. I don't know. And I think
it's
it's
so
vice versa too though. Like
yeah.
expecting like a nice person to like be able to handle any kind of emotional intensity. It's like a double-edged sword. It's like two opposite ends of the spectrum. So I really don't think either is correct, but I really don't like that she said it was a red flag about the guy being too nice. I don't think that's a red flag at all. It's like
And
that's just
that's the problem right there. Like that's the
yeah.
see.
No, I
Look,
agree. But did you notice Hillary did not agree with her? She didn't say, yeah, yeah, definitely a red flag. And I was like, I did respect that because it's so easy to just be like, yeah, no, I agree, that's a red flag. And it's like, that's not inherently a red flag because somebody's nice. That's just who they are. That's how they choose to show up. And some girl out there is going to absolutely be ready for that. And if you're not, don't waste that person's time. That's for sure.
but normally that's the girl that's already gone through like the stage of like, oh, he's a good guy. Let me find something wrong here. Let me because I
Hmm.
watched, and there's another video here. Hilary Duff saying like, let me poke some holes, like and see if this guy sticks around.
Hmm. Yeah.
That's literally trying to create a problem because
Self
you feel like it's
sabotage.
you off the rip. Like,
Hmm.
why? And to be honest with you, like
Yeah.
the word that keeps coming to my head is maturity. Because
Hmm.
had this been a guy that said something like this, I know the first thing that's going to be said on every girl podcast that's out there, he's so immature, he's a toxic fuckboy, all this shit. But
Hmm.
when Hillary comes out and says it, it's kind of met with a different reaction where it's like
Hmm.
there's some compassion there. But
Hmm.
I don't feel that that's the same response that a guy would have. I think the guy would honestly get attacked. I go back to when Sierra and Russell Wilson first got together. As
Hmm.
we know, Sierra had a kid with Future before she met Russell Wilson. And
Yep.
then, she came out was talking about, hey, like I prayed for this guy, and now every girl in every podcast is like, send me the prayer, send me the prayer. And I'm like, yo, it's plenty of Russell Wilsons out here that are right on your doorstep or next door at work or whenever you go to the grocery store. But it's like you don't notice them because they don't pop out as attention. They don't start drama. They don't argue. They don't do all this crazy shit that a lot of people think is passion. Russell
Right.
Wilson. Russell Wilson. A lot of guys are calling him corny, and he is. And look, Russell Wilson's a really great guy. I think he's a
Oh, yeah.
fantastic dad. I want to put him on Front Street. But the guy's a little corny sometimes when you hear him talk. That's all I'm saying. He's a little bit corny when you hear him talk. That's all I'm saying. It doesn't mean he's a bad dude and like that. I mean, he sound a little corny. He say things like he calls himself Mr. Unlimited. Little stuff like that. Like, all right, cool. I mean, do your thing, bro. But like that sounds a little corny. That's what we mean by that. Not the whole like he's treating Sierra great. Doing all this stuff. That's not what we're calling corny. That's the
Right.
thing that's going to be misunderstood for the past God knows how long. But
Hmm.
not to bash Sierra. I love Sierra. I'm
Hmm.
not bashing her. But before Russell Wilson, she was dealing with Future.
Hmm.
We know who Future is. We know how many baby moms this dude has. Yet Sierra still went ahead and messed with that anyway. We see it all the time with celebrity couples. We see it all the time with our friends. The red flags are right there for you to see, but you're choosing to ignore them. And then when you're finally finished with that, now you got a kid about this guy, 2 kids. Now you go into the guy where it's like, hey, this is stable. This is normal. This is a healthy relationship. And that's kind of what, a lot of guys like Russell Wilson. And I honestly say, look, if Russell Wilson ain't play football, I don't think he gets here, bro. Let's be honest. Everybody talk about, Russell Wilson he got her because he's not. No, Russell. It wasn't just Russell Wilson because he was a nice guy. The guy played football. He got a name out there. He's a Super Bowl champion. So naturally, he gonna be in some rooms with some people. So to me, that's kind of how this thing started. It's not because he's just a nice guy with money and everything. He plays football. He's a name. I think that's something that kind of gets pushed to the back a little because we're talking about a nice guy for Sierra after what she went through. But we see this all the time. So that when I hear these comments, it takes me back to those times, and we see. I think at some point in time, I'll be honest, I've gone through it. I've been the guy where it's I would get flowers for the girl. I would tell her that how I feel and stuff like that. She get freaked out, weirded out by it, and then it's next thing you know, she's dealing with some idiot who we all know is stupid, and then it's gets her heart broken, and then she goes back to social media posting that all men ain't shit. So does
she circle back?
What?
And does she end up circling back too?
Not to me. I mean, I don't know where she ended up circling from because I cut myself away from that because I'm not going to be the recycled dude. That's the other thing. We got guys pay attention to that. Don't be the recycled guy. But
another topic.
That's another one for another day.
It's another topic.
But man, that's kind of what a lot of guys are dealing with. That we aren't famous. We're not having the same kind of access, but we deal with the chaos that is other women who have been through bad situations. And then they want to paint this picture that all guys are like that in some way. But if we say that all girls are some type of way, we're getting attacked for it. And I don't feel, I guess, again, I go back to maturity. I don't feel like all girls are the same way with this. I think everyone has different life experiences. But I think I'm allowed to say that maturity plays a factor on the women's side as well, not just the men.
Oh, 100%. It's definitely that's a both. If your emotional maturity isn't there, you can be the nicest, greatest partner in the world, and it's not going to really mean anything at all if you're not emotionally there, and that's on both ends. So it's unfortunate, yeah.
Do you think it's a deeper meaning why we see a lot of women go with red flags, so to speak, even when they have a good guy, kind of on the other side?
I wish that there was one thing of advice that you could just give to every girl and they would just snap out of it. But unfortunately, I've been in a not very great, but an actual toxic, not just a chaotic situation. It was toxic, chaotic. And sometimes you really just have to experience for yourself. And then that's what it takes for you to be okay, I need to leave this dynamic. This is not the dynamic I want. And then pray that person learned a lesson and chooses better the next time around. A lot of people, as you see, don't choose better the next time around. They stick in that same dynamic. But if you are not sitting there and you're reflecting on the good and the bad of the relationship after it already ended, you're just going to keep popping into the exact same pattern over and over again, the exact same dynamic. And you're going to keep ignoring one that would have been much better. But a lot of people just don't sit with that reflection piece after a breakup. And I think that's a big thing on both women and men. Just sit with it, reflect, figure out what went wrong, what went right, and then kind of adjust from there and not jump into the exact same pattern over and over and over again. So you can't just be hey, girl, you're stupid. Walk in. They're going to be get defensive or something like that. It's you have to see it and they have to learn it on their own. Sucks.
My thing is when you go through a bad breakup, say you guys moved in together or something like that, and then y'all end up breaking up. I think you need to give yourself at least 6 months, maybe close to a year before you actually start dating again, because you may think you're fine after a couple of months. You might meet someone else and everything. That's fine, but are you actually healed from the past relationship? Are you actually moving on from what happened? You can say you're fine. You can act but then there's gonna be you don't know what triggers you may have developed, from that relationship that maybe could come up in the next thing. And it's okay, wait, I didn't know this. Let me get some time to actually work on myself here. And I think a lot of people don't really do that because I feel a lot of people are on a timeline. They feel like they're missing out on something, or they're falling behind because they see their friends. We're in our 30s now, so a lot of our friends are getting married, starting to have kids and all that stuff. And you look around, it's like, okay, wait,
Yep.
I think I'm falling behind a little bit, but we don't. I think patience gets lost completely,
Hmm.
and I feel like we lose just patience with ourselves in a way. We feel like, okay, we screwed up too many times, and we don't deserve like good things.
Yeah, I agree. And I think too, people stay in dynamics that don't work for them just to stay in a dynamic so they don't look like they're falling behind. And I think that's also a huge issue, especially like within our generation. So that's a whole nother bag of worms to open too.